The internet didn't just break, it exploded into absolute chaos. At exactly 2:17 a.m., a chilling voice note leaked online, and within seconds, everything changed. No warning, no build-up. Just one sentence that sent shockwaves through hip-hop like never before. I'll fight him. I don't care where. Reunion or not, I'll fight Cam. The voice was unmistakable. Jim Jones. Raw, aggressive, and completely unfiltered. Fans froze. Because just days ago, rumors of a Dipset reunion had the culture buzzing. Unity, brotherhood, a comeback nobody thought was possible. But behind that illusion, something dark was brewing. Something personal. Something explosive. And then it got worse. Screenshots began flooding social media. Private messages. Alleged insider chats. Words that were never meant to be seen suddenly exposed to the world. Claims of betrayal. Accusations of backstabbing. Talk of money, control, and someone being cut out of a legacy they helped build. But before anyone could even process that, another bomb dropped. 50 Cent, out of nowhere, announced a massive deal. Millions on the table. Power moves being made while everything else was falling apart. And with one cold caption, different levels, he lit the match that turned tension into full-blown war. Then came Maino. Live. Angry. Unfiltered. This ain't what y'all think it is. And just like that, the story stopped being about a reunion. It became something much bigger. Something dangerous. Because now, it's not just words anymore. It's personal. Because now, it's not just words anymore. It's personal. And the moment those words hit the timeline, everything started moving faster than anyone could control. Within minutes, fans weren't just reacting, they were investigating. Old interviews resurfaced. Forgotten clips suddenly became evidence. People started connecting dots that, until now, no one even realized existed. And right in the middle of that digital storm, a new piece of footage surfaced that made everything 10 times worse. It was shaky, clearly recorded on a phone, backstage somewhere, voices overlapping. But one voice cut through clearer than the rest, Jim Jones, visibly agitated, pacing, his tone sharp and unapologetic. They think I'm playing. I'm not playing with nobody. This ain't no joke. The person behind the camera tried to calm him down, but Jim brushed it off like it meant nothing. All that reunion talk? That's cool for the cameras. But behind that? It's something else. That line hit like a punch. Because suddenly, the entire idea of a reunion started to feel fake. Manufactured. Like something built for headlines, not reality. And fans picked up on it instantly. The comments turned aggressive. People started choosing sides. Some were defending Jim, saying he had every right to feel disrespected. Others were calling him out, accusing him of sabotaging something that could have been legendary. But while the public was busy arguing, something even more explosive was happening behind the scenes. A private group chat leaked. No warning. No explanation. Just screenshots, dozens of them, circulating across every major platform. The names were partially blurred, but the context was loud enough to shake everything. One message read, "He's been feeling this way for a long time. Y'all just seeing it now." Another one followed immediately after. "Cam knew this was coming. He just didn't think it would happen like this." Cam knew? That single implication turned everything upside down. Because up until that moment, Cameron's silence had been interpreted as calm confidence. But now, it felt strategic. Calculated. Like he was watching everything unfold exactly how he expected it to. And then, buried in the middle of those messages, there was one line that made people stop scrolling. He's not mad about the reunion. He's mad about the deal. What deal? The internet went into overdrive. Because just hours earlier, 50 Cent had casually announced what insiders were now calling one of the biggest moves of the year. No details at first, just hints. But as reporters started digging, pieces began to surface. Streaming rights, production credits, ownership stakes, numbers so high people thought they were fake. And suddenly, the timing didn't feel like a coincidence anymore. While one side was spiraling into chaos, the other was elevating. And people started asking questions nobody was ready to answer. Was this all connected? Was Jim Jones reacting to something bigger than just personal issues with Cameron? Or worse, was he being pushed out of something behind closed doors? That's when another leak dropped, and this one was different. It wasn't screenshots. It wasn't video. It was audio. Clear, direct, and impossible to ignore. 2 voices. No distortion. No background noise. Just a tense, uncomfortable conversation that sounded like it was never meant to leave a private room. You didn't tell me everything. I told you what you needed to know. That's not the same thing. A pause. Then the line that made everything feel colder. You were never supposed to be part of that anyway. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. And then the audio cut. Nobody knew exactly who was speaking. But the tone? The energy? It felt real. Too real. And fans immediately started speculating that this wasn't just about hurt feelings, it was about exclusion. About being cut out. About finding out too late that decisions had already been made. And right when emotions were reaching their peak, Cameron finally moved. Not a rant. Not a video. Not even a caption. Just a single post. A throwback photo. Classic Dipset era. The kind of image that instantly triggers nostalgia. The kind that reminds people why they cared in the first place. But something about it felt off. Because if you looked closely, really closely, one detail stood out. The image had been edited. Subtly. Almost unnoticeable. But once people saw it, they couldn't unsee it. Jim Jones was slightly pushed to the edge of the frame. Not removed. Not cropped out completely. Just shifted. Like he didn't fully belong in the center anymore. That post went viral in seconds. Fans dissected it like it was a coded message. Was Kim sending a warning? Was he making a statement without saying a word? Or was it just a coincidence that people were reading too deeply into? Jim didn't think it was a coincidence. Because less than 10 minutes later, he posted again. This time, no nostalgia. No subtlety. Just raw energy. A black screen. White text. Nobody knew exactly who was speaking. But the tone? The energy? It felt real. Too real. And fans immediately started speculating that this wasn't just about hurt feelings, it was about exclusion. About being cut out. About finding out too late that decisions had already been made. And right when emotions were reaching their peak, Cameron finally moved. Not a rant. Not a video. Not even a caption. Just a single post. A throwback photo. Classic Dipset era. The kind of image that instantly triggers nostalgia. The kind that reminds people why they cared in the first place. But something about it felt off. Because if you looked closely, really closely, one detail stood out. The image had been edited. Subtly. Almost unnoticeable. But once people saw it, they couldn't unsee it. Jim Jones was slightly pushed to the edge of the frame. Not removed. Not cropped out completely. Just shifted. Like he didn't fully belong in the center anymore. That post went viral in seconds. Fans dissected it like it was a coded message. Was Kim sending a warning? Was he making a statement without saying a word? Or was it just a coincidence that people were reading too deeply into? Jim didn't think it was a coincidence. Because less than 10 minutes later, he posted again. This time, no nostalgia. No subtlety. Just raw energy. A black screen. White text. I'm done being quiet. That was it. No explanation. No names. But everyone knew exactly who it was directed at. And the reactions were instant. Maino went live again, this time louder, angrier, more emotional than before. Y'all don't understand what's happening. This ain't entertainment. This is real life. His voice cracked mid-sentence, but he didn't stop. People getting pushed out. People getting played behind closed doors. And then y'all come online acting like it's all jokes. The comments flooded in faster than he could read them. Who's getting pushed out? Say the names. Is this about Jim? Maino paused. Looked straight into the camera. And for a second, it felt like he was about to say everything. But instead, he shook his head. It's deeper than that. And just like that, he ended the stream. No goodbye. No clarity. Just more questions. But the night wasn't over. Because while everyone was still trying to process that moment, another clip started circulating. This one allegedly recorded just hours earlier. A confrontation. Not physical, but close. Voices raised. Tension thick. Jim Jones again, this time face-to-face with someone off camera. You should have said it to me directly. I didn't think you'd react like this. That's the problem, you didn't think at all. The person behind the camera tried to intervene, but the energy didn't drop. If anything, it escalated. Now it's out, Jim continued, his voice sharper than ever. Now everybody knows. So let's stop pretending. Pretending what? The clip cut before anyone could answer. And that's when the narrative shifted again. Because it wasn't just about a fight anymore. It wasn't just about a reunion falling apart. It was about something being hidden and then exposed. Something that wasn't supposed to reach the public. But now that it had, there was no going back. And just when it felt like things couldn't get more intense, a final message appeared. No source, no verification, just text. Short, direct, and terrifying. This isn't over. Not even close. The internet froze. Because for the first time since this all started, it didn't feel like chaos anymore. It felt like a warning. It felt like a warning. And warnings like that don't just appear out of nowhere. They come from somewhere deeper, somewhere calculated. Within minutes of that message spreading across every major platform, people stopped treating this like random chaos and started looking at it like a sequence. A chain reaction. Every leak, every post, every silence, it all started to feel connected. And then, the next piece. Dropped. Not a video this time. Not a screenshot. A full transcript. Allegedly pulled from a private call that was never supposed to leave a locked circle. The formatting was clean, almost too clean. Names replaced with initials. Timestamps included. And the content? Explosive enough to make everything before it looked small. Jay knew before anyone else. That line alone shifted the entire narrative. Because now, the question wasn't who was reacting. It was who already knew. The transcript continued, revealing fragments of a conversation that sounded less like friends talking and more like a deal being finalized behind someone's back. Words like structure, ownership, distribution, and cut percentages kept appearing. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was business. Cold, strategic, and ruthless. And buried halfway through the transcript, there was one line that sent shockwaves through everyone reading. He doesn't have leverage anymore. Leverage. That word hit harder than any insult. Because if that line was true, it meant one thing: power had shifted. Quietly. Permanently. And the person losing that power was finding out in real time in the worst way possible. Suddenly, Jim Jones' earlier anger didn't look random anymore. It looked justified. But before anyone could fully process that shift, another clip surfaced, and this one felt different from everything else. It was longer, clearer, and far more dangerous. A recorded phone call. No distortion. No edits. Just two voices, tense and controlled, like both sides knew exactly how much was at stake. You went around me. I went where the opportunity was. That opportunity had my name on it too. Silence. Then a sharp response. Not anymore. The words landed like a hammer. And just like that, the theory that someone had been cut out stopped being speculation. It started feeling real. The clip ended abruptly, but the damage was already done. Fans didn't just react, they erupted. Hashtags flooded timelines. People began demanding answers, tagging everyone even remotely connected to the situation. The pressure wasn't building anymore. It was exploding. And still, Cameron said nothing. Not a single word. No denial. No confirmation. Just silence. But this time, that silence didn't feel calm. It felt intentional. Calculated. Like someone waiting for the exact right moment to strike. Meanwhile, Maino returned, and this time, there was no hesitation in his voice. No holding back. No vague statements. They playing with people's names now, he said, staring directly into the camera. This ain't just about music. This is about respect. And when respect gets violated, everything else follows. The comments lit up instantly. Who violated who? Say it clearly. Is this about the deal? Maino leaned closer to the camera, his expression tightening. Y'all keep asking the wrong questions, he said quietly. Ask who benefits. That line changed everything. Because suddenly, attention shifted. Away from the fight. Away from the reunion. And directly toward the one person who seemed untouched by the chaos. 50 Cent. While everyone else was caught in a storm of leaks and emotional breakdowns, he was moving differently. Quietly. Efficiently. And according to new reports that began circulating just minutes after Maino's live stream ended, his huge deal wasn't just a win, it was a takeover. Insiders claimed it involved control over multiple platforms, content pipelines, even potential rights that overlapped with legacy brands tied to Dipset's history. Nothing confirmed. But nothing denied either. And that silence? It started to feel louder than any accusation. Because if those rumors were even partially true, then this entire situation wasn't just internal conflict. It was external pressure. Strategic pressure. The kind that forces cracks to widen until they break everything apart. And right on cue, something snapped. A new video surfaced. This one was different. No hidden camera. No shaky footage. Clear. Direct. Intentional. Jim Jones. Standing still. Looking straight into the lens. No music. No distractions. Just him. They keep thinking I don't know what's going on, he said slowly. Like I'm just reacting. Like I'm emotional. He paused. A slight shake of his head. I'm not reacting, he continued. I'm responding. The tone wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It was worse. It was controlled. And that control made every word hit harder. Everything that's being done. I see it, he said. Every move. Every conversation. Every backdoor play. He leaned slightly closer. And I'm not the only one seeing it. The video ended there. No explanation. No names. But the message was clear. He wasn't alone. And that changed the stakes completely. Because if more people were involved, if more voices were about to come forward, then this wasn't just a two-sided conflict anymore. It was a network. A web of decisions, alliances, and hidden agendas that were finally starting to unravel. And just when it felt like the situation couldn't get more complex, the biggest leak yet dropped. A document. High resolution. Unblurred. No missing sections. What appeared to be a finalized agreement. Names included. Signatures visible. And right at the center of it, a clause. Short. Precise. Devastating. Final authority over brand direction and monetization rights shall remain exclusively with. The rest of the line was clear enough to read. And the name attached to it? Sent the internet into absolute meltdown. Because it wasn't who people expected. Not Camron. Not Jim Jones. Someone else. Someone who hadn't even been part of the public conversation until now. The reactions were immediate. This changes everything. So that's why he's mad. This was planned from the start. But the most chilling part? The timestamp on the document. Because if it was real, then the deal had been signed days before the first leak ever surfaced. Days before the voice note. Days before the threats. Days before the chaos. Which meant one thing. None of this was random. None of it. And just as people began to absorb that realization, another message appeared. This one even shorter than the last. Just 4 words. He just found out. No context. No explanation. But it didn't need one. Because suddenly, everything lined up. The anger. The threats. The reaction. It wasn't immediate because it wasn't planned. It was immediate because it was discovered. And now? Now there was no controlling it. No containing it. No walking it back. Because when something hidden gets exposed like this, it doesn't just create drama. It creates consequences. And as the night dragged on, one question started echoing louder than anything else. If this was only the beginning, what happens next? What happens next? That question didn't just linger, it consumed everything. Because once people realized this wasn't random, once it became clear, I'm not here to argue, he said. I'm not here to go back and forth. A slight shake of his head. Some things don't need to be explained. The comments exploded. Explain it. Don't do that. We need the truth. But he didn't react. He just sat there, calm, controlled, unbothered. And then he said something that made everything freeze. If you know, you know. And just like that, he ended the live. No details. No denial. No confirmation. Just a statement that felt more like a line drawn in the sand than an explanation. And in that moment, everything finally clicked. Because the silence wasn't confusion. It was strategy. The leaks weren't accidents. They were pressure. The reactions weren't random. They were consequences. And the fight? It was never just about fighting. It was about control, legacy, power, and who gets to decide what happens next. Meanwhile, 50 Cent posted again. No words. Just a photo, a glass raised, a contract on the table, and a caption that read, "Timing is everything." That was it. No explanation. But it didn't need one. Because by now, everyone understood. While one empire was cracking, another was expanding. And the most chilling part? It all happened at the same time. On purpose or not, that question no longer mattered. Because the result was the same. One side lost trust. The other gained power. And somewhere in between, everything changed. No reunion. No unity. No coming back from this. Just silence. Heavy. Permanent. And louder than anything that came before it. Because in the end, the fight never happened. But the damage? It already did. Now think about everything you just heard. Every leak. Every clip. Every word that slipped through the cracks and made its way to the public. This wasn't just entertainment. This was a moment. The kind of moment that shifts narratives, rewrites legacies, and changes how people see everything moving forward. And here's the truth, what you know right now. It might only be part of it. Because stories like this don't end clean. They don't wrap up neatly. There are always more layers, more details, more things hidden just beneath the surface waiting to come out when you least expect it. So if you're sitting here thinking you've seen it all, you haven't. Not even close. Make sure you hit that like button right now because every single interaction pushes this story further into the spotlight, and the more light on it, the harder it becomes for anything else to stay hidden. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this isn't just about watching anymore. It's about understanding, breaking it down, and seeing what others might have missed. And most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because if something else drops, and it will, you don't want to be the last one finding out. Stay ready. Because this kind of silence, it never lasts.